Hi, it's Louise at Spiral Bright Insight, and I'm here to talk about the eclipse, which is taking place on the 14th of March. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'm a galactic and an intuitive astrologer, and what I do with the content that I bring to YouTube is really explore and dive into some of the key astrological events and also try and bring you regular updates in terms of the energies and how I interpret them with regards to what is happening in the astrology, both in the traditional astrological chart and also using the fixed stars and cosmic points. So we are in eclipse season now, and we are building up to a total lunar eclipse. Now, this is essentially a full moon. So this is the full moon in Virgo. It's an eclipse because the sun is within 18 degrees of the nodal axis. So we have two eclipse seasons every year. We are working with a south node lunar eclipse because the moon is very close to the south node in Virgo at this time. And for us in the UK, it's going to be at 6:54 a.m. on the 14th of March. And it is when the sun and the moon oppose each other at 23 degrees 56 minutes. We're pretty much at the 24-degree mark. So you need to really look at in your natal chart where you have sort of between 22 to 25, 26 degrees of Virgo and potentially Pisces as well, because this is going to really activate that part of the chart and any natal planets or angles that are located there. For me, it is on my ascendant. So yes, we will sort of wait to see how that shows up and how that affects me. But when we have an eclipse, and particularly a south node and a full moon lunar eclipse, it is a deeply emotional time. Obviously, full moons always stir up the emotions because the moon affects our emotional state. When we're working with a south node eclipse, this is very much a fated, very karmic event, very fated energy. And because the south node is really all about letting go of what no longer serves us or what is holding us back, this really brings a spotlight to those areas. So if there's something that you have been aware of but have been avoiding, turning a blind eye or trying not to look at it, look the other way and it'll go away, the eclipse will make that so noisy and so loud and so obvious that you won't be able to sort of look away or ignore it anymore. So eclipses were feared in times gone by when people didn't really understand what was happening and the light would change, the moon would change. In this case, in the lunar eclipse, it will go a blood red color. It'll be quite eerie if you're able to see it. But energetically, and obviously that is more what I am interested in, is they serve as really strong wild cards. So they can create very sudden, very unexpected change. This is intense energy. They are designed to almost course correct. So if we've gone slightly astray or there's something that needs to happen to bring us back into alignment with where we are supposed to be. And remember, when we're working with the nodal axis, this is always about our growth, our soul's evolution. Then the eclipse will change things so that we are shifted back to where we need to be. With a full moon and a south node, this is very much a focus on completion. So the eclipse is going to force the culmination or the completion or the release of something. Again, it might be something that you have been aware of, or it might be something that comes completely out of the blue, but we always have to trust this. This is part of divine intervention, divine will, and this is all about sort of our greatest good and making sure that we are absolutely, going where we are meant to go. So I've talked about fate, I've talked about karma. It can be a turning point as well. So people in astrology in the spiritual world can sometimes get a little bit like, oh, crikey, it's eclipse season, anything can happen. And that is true, but it is about seeing it as a force for the greater good. So because we're working with the full moon in Virgo, we have the sun in Pisces. So the sun is shining a full light, its full light and its full power on the Virgo part of our chart, and also the themes that Virgo brings up. Now, Virgo is mutable earth. So again, we have this real sense of anything can change because when we're working with mutable energy, nothing is fixed. There is a real sort of shifting sands type energy. Because we are working with earth, we are going to feel this in a very physical, very tangible way. And I'll come on to that more in a second. Virgo is the sign, the sixth sign in the chart. It is very much about service and practical service. Virgo needs to be useful, needs to be doing something that is meaningful. It is also it's associated with the harvest. So when we're working with Virgo, there's always the sense of a gift, something that you are bringing to serve, to assist, to support, to help. There's a really strong need to do something that is going to make a difference when you have strong Virgo or when there is a strong Virgo transit. There's also a really strong association with Virgo with Mother Earth, with the connection to the earth, but also Virgo is a very purifying energy. Virgo needs to really refine and improve. So again, there is going to be a real focus on at this new moon about making things better, which is going to be brought about by releasing and by letting go of something that is holding us back from improving and refining ourselves. Virgo is the sign of purification. There is also a really strong humility with Virgo. And because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, Virgo is very much in the head, even though we have sort of the earth sign and Virgo is about embodiment. For me, Virgo sort of brings the strengths of the mind and combines that with the strengths of being physical and being embodied. So there's a really beautiful sort of grounded presence, but also Virgo needs to understand, needs to come up with a solution, needs to analyze everything. Very strong discernment with this sign, a lot of very strong intelligence. And, you know, if you've got strong Virgo, you will be very astute and very sort of switched on to what is going on, which again feels really relevant here. So with the sort of the lower expression or more challenging expression of Virgo, we can become too much sort of sitting in our heads and our minds. And obviously, when you are in your head all the time, you can create all sorts of stories, often ones that are simply not true. But that can create anxiety. It can create overanalysis or analysis paralysis. It can create pessimism and this kind of sense of impending doom because, you know, of all the stuff that is going on in your head. But this, because we're working with the South Node in Virgo and the full moon, this is a big part of what I feel is ready to be released. Because if you're feeling pessimistic or you're analyzing everything too much, you know, and you are trying to make sense of everything and come up with a reason and a rationale for everything, that can often be quite limiting and debilitating. And it is a lot of that we are going to be letting go of. So with Virgo, we need to come up with a system that works, a solution that works, but it needs to be something that is actually going to help and is going to be worth doing. And because we are in Earth and because Virgo rules the body and the sixth house, which for me is all about body, this brings us back to themes of health and well-being and healing. Healing is absolutely all over this full moon. And any changes that do happen at this time, we are going to feel at a very physical, very real, very tangible level because we are feeling it in our bodies. Now, obviously, when we're working, we've got a lot of Pisces energy in the chart at the moment. I've been talking about Pisces a lot. Pisces is beautiful, but Pisces requires us to almost let go and to expand into the all that is. You know, this is very ethereal, very mystical energy without form, without boundary, without structure, without a container. But the full moon in Virgo requires that we take that amazing, beautiful energy and bring it down into the body and create a sacred, safe container to hold it. And, you know, the shifts that we are experiencing at a spiritual level at the moment, and again, that is non-negotiable. You know, this is part of our evolution. The North Node in Pisces is making sure that we are absolutely doing that. But with this full moon, we are very much able to, or we're being given this opportunity to bring all those amazing energies and that sort of spiritual, you know, raising of consciousness and bring it into the body, and we will feel it. So if there are things that we need to let go of, that we need to release, bring to an end, and say goodbye to, that, you know, is really about our growth. So anything that has been holding us back, and this might be something that, again, that we are doing wittingly or unwittingly, you know, in full awareness or completely hidden. Obviously, Pisces, you know, can be the sign of secrets and all that is hidden, other dimensions, things that are going on, you know, out of sight. again, this full moon is going to show us where that is and what that might look like and what that might be. But we're going to feel it in our bodies. And I think the difference with this full moon, obviously we've had lots of energies that are helping us to change and shift and grow. But with this full moon, the fact that we are embodied and that we're going to feel it in our body is we're not going to be able to ignore it, because the body doesn't lie. If you work with energy like I do, I really use my body as a tool to sort of tell me when something is real or not, or when it's truth or not. And I feel it at a physical level. And I feel that this is going to apply at a much wider, broader level at this time. So it's no longer a concept or an idea. Virgo is making it very real. And obviously, I talked about things that we might be doing that are not supporting our growth, because this is the sign of healing and health and well-being and, really healthy habits. If there is anything that we have been doing to our body that is preventing our soul's evolution or holding us back or damaging us in some way, whether that is with awareness or not, then again, the light is going to be shone on that. If you are noticing that you just don't want the same things that you used to eat or drink, or you feel like you need to do something different, then honor that and pay attention to that, because the energy is right for that. So Virgo is going to require that we sort of bring some order into our lives. And this is really through streamlining, through decluttering. And again, this is something that I've been doing all week, kind of clearing down my laptop, clearing down my phone, creating space. And, this is what Virgo needs. Virgo needs space. Virgo needs to not have everything sort of, not too much noise. Virgo really likes stillness, because Virgo needs clarity, and Virgo will bring clarity in. So this is decluttering our physical environments, our homes, our bodies, our computers, wherever it is that you feel you might have taken on too much. This is the time when the eclipse, in particular, the full moon in Virgo, is really going to say, right, it's time to just, let's just sort this out. Let's clear it up. And of course, we are coming into spring in the Northern Hemisphere, and spring is traditionally associated with that spring clean, with that decluttering, cleaning out the old energies, anything that is stagnant and stale that we've sort of accumulated over the winter. It's time to clear it out. And I love how the full moon in Virgo is going to help us with that. But because it's an eclipse, this might be stuff that you weren't necessarily intending to get rid of, or you didn't know you had to. But again, trusting that the universe knows exactly what is in your highest good. So if you're overextending yourself, if you've taken on too much, if you've said yes to too many things, again, this is likely to be the time when the universe steps in and says, right, we just need to, create some space, organize this situation, your life, whatever, a little bit better. And again, just allow the eclipse energy to do that for you, and trust that it is absolutely, all divinely orchestrated. Just want to stop briefly to say that I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for being here, for watching my content. Please like and share the video. It's free. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to the channel. And if you find my work valuable, I have a super thanks button and a PayPal address, which you can find in the description box below. So if you want to make a contribution to my work, it really makes such a difference. So yeah, eternally grateful if that is something you would like to do. So let's have a look at the chart. Okay, so this is the chart for the eclipse. And as you can see, we've got the moon at 23 degrees 56 Virgo opposing the sun. Now you can see the nodes here. This is the south node at 27 degrees 23 of Virgo. So this is very close, and this is going to make this eclipse even stronger because of the proximity. We also have what is striking is Saturn is now at 22 degrees of Pisces. So Saturn is a really big player in this eclipse. And I'm also going to be drawn very much to, if I can find him, Uranus is at 24 degrees of Taurus. So you can see Uranus is creating this really quite tight trine with the moon. So we're going to start here. So Uranus, whenever Uranus is activated in astrology, in the chart, particularly at the time of an eclipse, we know that there are some really significant changes and shifts and breakthroughs about to happen or on the way or in being set in motion. And remember, with eclipses, this is not just for the day. The energy of the eclipse will stay with us and affect us for the next 6 months. So this is a really big deal. With Uranus in a trine, the energies are really supportive. So, there is flow, but Uranus needs breakthrough. Uranus is about awakening, but also through sudden and unexpected realizations. There might be some new ideas or some news that comes through. But again, because we are working with the earth signs, this is kind of shocks and surprises that are going to really potentially rattle us. We're going to feel this awakening, the shocks within our body at a very physical level. And sometimes that needs to happen because, it's all very well having concepts and ideas and, this beautiful Pisces energy is amazing, but it's not until something happens in our physical world or at a physical level that we may actually pay attention. And I was doing a reading for someone recently, and I was talking about Scorpio and the fact that Scorpio has got a real sting in its tail. And it's often not until we feel that sting, that pain, that ouch, it's like, oh, actually, yeah, I need to pay attention. And often, if something is festering, if there's an emotional, there's something going on, and you're ignoring it and you're ignoring it and you're ignoring it, it's not until the body actually starts to manifest that emotional disease and issue at a physical level that you then turn around and start to pay attention, because we can't really ignore the body. The body is our sacred temple. It is, it is everything that we need to be here. And ideally, it will be working at an optimum level. We'll be healthy, we're pain-free. It's all working well. But if there is something out of alignment, then it's usually the body that will alert us. And again, here, that feels quite relevant. I'm not saying that we're all going to get ill, not at all, but I feel that there's going to be something that we can feel physically within the body that really sort of makes us think, actually, yeah, this is the thing. Again, what it is, who knows? Astrology only gives us the themes. It can play out in so many different ways, and everyone has got their own chart and their own blueprint. But again, this is a collective event, obviously, because it is a full moon, it is an eclipse. So again, it's up to the energies to play out how they are intended to. But whatever is happening, it's going to feel quite real, quite tangible. And I think, that is a good thing, because if there is information coming to light or realizations or awakening through Uranus, again, it could be linked to the body, it could be linked to health and healing, but it is something that is potentially going to really affect us, in real world time. This is real life. This is bringing it back to the physical world, as opposed to some shifts that are happening out in the ethers, which, so many of us know are happening, but we can't necessarily provide good, hard evidence. Maybe this is the point where we can actually start to, bring some strong physical evidence to the table. So that's Uranus. Obviously, we need to be mindful. I would say have a lot of respect for Uranus, because Uranus is designed to break things down, things that are no longer working, in order that we can rebuild. But it can be quite unexpected. It can be left field. It can be unexpected. And again, because this is Uranus within the eclipse, which is already an unexpected wild card energy, again, there is a sense that anything can happen. With Saturn next to the sun, this is really beautiful, because again, the sun in Pisces, we've got lots of Pisces energy. We've been talking about that a lot recently. There is this sense of kind of rising up, becoming one with all that is, connecting with a higher power, extending into the void, expansive spiritual awakening. Some really beautiful ethereal energies here. But Saturn, although Saturn is not comfortable in Pisces, Saturn is still bringing some form of structure, some form of mastery, and sort of saying, actually, again, it kind of ties back into the earth energy of the full moon, because Saturn is going to make sure that whatever is happening, that whatever we're letting go of, that whatever we are sort of being shaken awake to, that Saturn is holding space for us. And Saturn will act as a reality check as well. So yes, there might be revelations, and Saturn is there to say, actually, this is real. This is not all mumbo jumbo. This is not all woo woo. There is a lot of credibility to what is coming through at this time, and we needed to grow up, and it's almost like we needed to face the music. That's the kind of phrase that's coming through here. Neptune at the 29 degrees, 23 minutes. All month Neptune is at the very final degree of the zodiac. We're working with this ending energy so strong at this time of the eclipse. We're also in the universal year number 9, which is kind of giving this backdrop, that kind of shedding layers, releasing, letting go. So there is no denying that this is absolutely a point of culmination and termination, and something is being removed. What that is likely to be, we will have to find out, and it might not, as I say, happen on the day of the eclipse. There will be months in post eclipse for things and energies to play out. But Saturn is definitely giving some structure and also longevity as well, because obviously Saturn, there is a sense of permanence, even though Saturn is in Pisces. And also maturity and mastery, almost as if Saturn is sort of watching over us and holding our hand. And in this case, Saturn is going to find it hard to limit and restrict. So it's more about having that master energy and that spiritual master sort of stepping up and forward to guide us, which is really, really beautiful. Now we'll talk briefly about some other points in this chart. So Venus is in retrograde now in Aries. She is very close to Mercury, who is stationary. So Mercury is about to station retrograde in Aries. So these two are very close. And obviously we have Celestia here in Aries as well. So Venus in Aries is really requiring us to go within. Aries for me is part of the hero's journey. So we're having to really gain a new sense of courage. This is very much about the warrior energy, but making sure that we are able to put ourselves first, that we really start to see what it is that we value in this world, but that is designed and aligned for us and what we need, that aligns with our values, that aligns with our needs and what we appreciate in this lifetime. So, or in this at this time. So as part of this transit, Venus is really going to require that we come back to the heart, we come back to the selves, and that we find out and explore what really matters. I also am getting the sense with Venus in Aries in retrograde that we're going to realize that, we talk about being in a war, in a battle, conflict, fighting. We've got to win, we've got to win. But I feel that with this retrograde, we're going to realize that any conflict or battle that we are experiencing outside of ourselves is just a reflection of what is going on within. And if we can really start to understand that and see where the internal war is, where the internal conflict is, and start to address that and work with that, and try and bring peace and balance and harmony to that, then we will start to see our outer world will start to shift to reflect back our new state to us. So there's a very strong sense of as within, so without here. And obviously, Venus retrograde is really a part of the journey of shadow, going within to look at the parts that perhaps we didn't want to see before. That with Aries, there's that spark of light, that glow, and that knowledge that actually this is starting something really important. This is part of a new journey. Obviously Venus is going to go back into Pisces, so she will allow us to connect with our more spiritual selves as well. But at the moment, this is very much about meeting the darker sides of ourselves with compassion and really working out what matters and what doesn't. So we've got this really beautiful, as she does that there's going to be a sense perhaps of parts of ourselves literally being burnt, transmuted through the flames of the Aries fire. But then as she moves into Pisces water, there's going to be, the flames will be put out. The water will dissolve the old, what's left, wash away all the ashes and all the burnt tinders, to be born and anew as Venus then moves back into Aries in her forward motion again. So really beautiful time with Mercury right next to Venus. Mercury in Aries is going to feel quite angry potentially. Aries can be quite aggressive, quite angry, quite heated, so that it is possible that whatever is coming to light at the time of this eclipse is firing people up, firing up their minds, stories, words. You know, there could be a lot of anger about, for sure. But it's also about being able to speak your truth and speak without fear, having the courage to say what it is, you know, is in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. And again, that may be very relevant in terms of what is coming up. You know, people will not feel the need to stay quiet anymore because there's a real sort of boost of courage and fire coming through. So that's pretty incredible. And then Salacia, really close to these two in Aries as well. You know, I talked about Salacia in a recent video, which I know a lot of people resonated. But again, this is like the kind of this beautiful, it's sparkling energy as the light sort of hits the surface of the water, you know, very strong idea of diamond light codes coming through. But also, you know, just a reminder about Salacia is the goddess of the sea. You know, she's linked to salt water, and I love that because we get the kind of the cleansing and the purification and the protection energy coming through her. But also a reminder that, you know, don't always be taken in or distracted by the sort of sparkle and, you know, the glimmer and the shine on the surface. It is also about going into the depths. And with Salacia in Aries, we need to have the courage, and we do have the courage, to go into the depths and to look at what lies beneath. Elsewhere in the chart, we have Mars now at 18 degrees of Cancer in a trine. It's a slightly wider trine, but trine the Sun and Saturn at this time, and obviously sextile the Moon. So Mars is very much still about making sure that we are connecting with our inner world, with our emotional state, helping us to work through emotional intelligence, but also giving us that safe space to retreat to if we need to, because Mars in Cancer isn't really about sort of that warrior and going out for battle. You know, this is about coming in and making sure that, again, as with Venus in Aries, you know, if there are any battles that need to be won, they are likely to be internal ones. And it is about making sure that you have your own house in order and that you are firm and solid in who you are, which will give you a really strong emotional base to go out and sort of achieve and do what needs to be done at this time. And what is also really beautiful, I can't show it on this chart because my software doesn't allow it, but the asteroid Hawaii, which I always use for Lemuria, is actually at 19 degrees of Cancer. So Hawaii is conjunct Mars, is playing a part, trining Saturn, trining the Sun. You know, this is really, really beautiful. So Hawaii in Cancer with the Lemuria sort of connection to the Cancer energy. This again is about going within and connecting to ancient lifetimes, ancient gifts, these beautiful high frequency energies that, you know, are going to support us, are going to carry us through. So if there are things that are happening that feel a little bit unsettling, unstable, you know, there may be grief. Obviously, Pisces, you know, is very cleansing, but very emotional. So there may be more tears, there may be more purification happening. I would say almost definitely with the Virgo influence. But again, you know, Mars and Hawaii and Cancer are kind of creating this safe space for us to process those emotions and, you know, holding that space for whatever comes up through this full moon. So that is really, really beautiful. And I'll just quickly mention Vesta here at the top in Scorpio, 18 degrees of Scorpio, is creating a grand trine, beautiful water flow. So again, you know, we may find that our emotions are getting the better of us because water flowing through a grand trine, you know, it's difficult to stop. It's like a cascade of emotion and water coming through. But also Vesta is the hearth, the home, that inner light, that flame that cannot be put out. And in Scorpio, you know, she's having to go deep into the depths to connect with that. But Mars is there helping her. The Lemurian frequencies are there. We've got the Sun, we've got Saturn, we've also got the nodal axis supporting as well. So really beautiful grand trine there. Mars in Cancer is in a square to Chiron in Aries. So just bear in mind that Chiron is therefore also square Hawaii stroke Lemuria. So again, you know, there is definitely healing there, healing of the self as we go within. to explore our inner world and our emotional world. There is absolutely healing that is happening, that is almost being forced through the square to Chiron, but it is helping us to step into a greater understanding of who we are, to claim our sovereignty, to really, connect with that inner warrior, but in a very bold and courageous and empowered way. So let's stop the share. As a galactic astrologer, I also want to talk to you about some of the key galactic alignments that are taking place. Now, some of these are going to be repetitive because, they are energies and stars that I've been talking about a lot, but there are a couple of new ones that I want to highlight as well. So the one I'm going to talk about first of all is a star that is conjunct the moon, and that is called Alkes in the Crater constellation. Now, this is really, really beautiful. This is a star that I was sort of drawn to explore because it is conjunct my ascendant. It's at 23 degrees of Virgo. And the Crater constellation really brings up the archetype and the symbolism of a container or a chalice, a vessel. Something that we are given or that we give that holds something sacred, something divine, something really valuable potentially. Now, there is also the association with Crater and Alkes of a gift, and a gift that is being handed down through the generations potentially, but that we have, that we're able to connect with, and that we are able to give or offer to another. And of course, this ties in really beautifully with the theme of service through Virgo. So with this also, there is the kind of connection with, this chalice, this vessel, often associated with the Holy Grail. But it is about knowledge and understanding, which again links to Virgo, the mind, the amount of information that someone with strong Virgo is able to process and receive and work through and order. And, what is coming through is, so many of us over, over lifetimes and all the myths and the stories, there has been the search for the Holy Grail. And, people think, it is this actual physical cup, this physical vessel, and, it's going to give you eternal life. For me, the symbolism aligns with that, but at this juncture it feels as if the vessel, the Holy Grail, the container that is so sacred, so valuable, so important is actually the physical body, and it is the wisdom that we hold within the physical body that is the actual kind of the key to eternal life. It is understanding that the body holds so much wisdom within, and we are essentially guardians of this knowledge. And it is about having the strength and the courage and the ability to sort of bring in this higher understanding through the Pisces sun and through Saturn in Pisces and the North Node in Pisces, but bring it into the body and to understand that it is not all about the spiritual higher self source. We are actually source ourselves, and we are source embodied, and the fact that we have this amazing physical vessel, that is the Holy Grail. This is the gift. It is by being embodied in this lifetime that we are giving the greatest gift. And of course, if you do resonate with being a starseed, high frequency soul, which anchoring these higher frequency energies into Earth so we can support Gaia's ascension, but we can also support the ascension, the awakening of everybody around us, whether that's something that we're doing deliberately and with awareness, or something that we are just doing by being embodied and by being here. Everybody has such an important and valid and valuable role to play as part of this. And it feels to me, with the moon sun shining this full light on Alkes in the Crater constellation, we're going to start to realize that actually, yes, we have so much wisdom in our bodies. It is time to listen to our bodies, rather than, trying to escape, which is obviously, Pisces. There can be a real need to escape. Addictions can be an issue when we have strong Pisces, victim consciousness. This is about coming in to ourselves, to taking responsibility for ourselves, but also for seeing how sacred our physical vessel is. And that is in so much part of the gift of this eclipse and this full moon. We also have the sun is obviously still, well, let's say still, we've got a lot of Pegasus energy still being activated in the final decan of Pisces. So the sun is conjunct Markab, as is Saturn. Neptune is still conjunct Shet. Uranus obviously sextile Mark-Heb now, so the very strong Pegasus energy, again, helping us to rise up above, to release and cut free from the chains that have kept us bound, to see the bigger picture, to see that we are multidimensional, but also not forgetting that, it's about bringing that multidimensionality back into the physical body, and that is part of the ascension process. Now, elsewhere in the chart, we have Uranus is conjunct Beta Centauri again, which, happened before. Uranus has gone retrograde. Uranus is now in direct motion. Beta Centauri is this beautiful, beautiful star energy, which connects us to unconditional love and to nature and to the kind of value of nature, to the fact that there is so much wisdom hidden or encapsulated, held within the earth, linking to that which is held within the body through this trine to the south node and to the moon. But with Hadar, we're reminded, all living beings, the importance of all living beings, the fact that we are all connected, the fact that when we come together and we work together, when we collaborate, when we cooperate with one another, that is when, the beauty can really start to take hold. And it's very much about heart-centered being, living, seeing, experiencing. It is all about unconditional love. So that is such a beautiful star. And Uranus there is helping us to awaken to the truth of that. We also have the sun and the moon are in a square to Razzlehag in the Fishes constellation, stars in the Orion system, and Capella in Auriga. And this is really this is a T square, because Razzlehag and Officius is in Sagittarius, Orion and Capella are in Gemini, and this is very much sort of making sure that, with Sagittarius being, the link to the bigger picture, to the higher mind, to higher consciousness, Gemini sort of making sure that we have all the facts, that we understand what's going on, and it kind of brings it back to a very local level. There is this kind of nod that we do need to think about and understand what is going on from at all levels at this time. So that is going to play a part. But the Orion sort of presence is reminding us, of the history of the separation, the polarity that comes through any sort of connections to Orion, and how, so many of us are working through karma from our times, from the history of Orion. Again, it feels like we are bringing in lessons that we learned or worked through in the Orion constellation here, which does kind of make it very karmic. And as we sort of move through that separation, we're able to move to the light, which is obviously the Pisces energy at the top of, which is obviously the Pisces energy that we are moving toward. Capella in Auriga is really beautiful because, again, this is Gemini, so this is about intelligence, understanding, needing to know, having a curiosity, wanting to understand, which is what the Virgo full moon wants to do. But it also reminds us of the importance of connection, of bringing through all those strands together. We might not all have the same ideas, but there must be a way that we can come together and create some cohesion. This star is also very linked to protection, to guidance, to the kind of shepherd energy, and also to freedom. So it's the freedom that comes when we do understand what is going on and we can make informed decisions. Again, that may be significant at the time of this eclipse. And with Razzlehag, this is very much about the divine feminine. This is the 13th sign. This is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. So again, we need to make sure that we are connecting those two, not living fully in our bodies or in contrast fully in our sort of higher self, but bringing those two together. And this is how we experience and move through, the most incredible process of transformation. Razzlehag also linked to the serpent energy, which links back to the serpent, the year of the snake that we're in. So, there's some really quite profound connections here. Venus retrograde is conjunct Alpha Reticuli. Now, this star is going to be a big sort of player in the solar eclipse, which comes in 14 days after this lunar eclipse. So I will be talking about this star and its energy in more detail. But for me, Alpha Reticuli, there is shadow connected with this star, but it is also, it gets its name from the net. And for me, this is the net, the web, the matrix, which can be used to entangle, to confuse. Of course, that's where the shadow can come in, but it can also be used as a home, as a container. And, that sort of brings me back to thinking about Alkes, the cup, the container, the physical body, the container. Venus going retrograde in Aries and meeting with the star is realizing the importance of having a strong, healthy container, because without that, we cannot do the work that we came here to do. It also helps us to bring order and structure from chaos, which I really love. And there's a really strong connection to light, to science, to technology, to the future. But I will talk about that star in more detail in the next eclipse video that I do. For now, the other sort of thing that is glaring at me is the fact that the North and South Node are in a T-square with a group of stars. Again, these include some stars in the Orion, so Safe, Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, also Polaris, the North Star, the Galactic Center, and Embodiment in Draco. Now, these are all stars. Some are in Sagittarius, some are in Gemini, but there is a real kind of connection again between, this link between the higher mind, the lower mind, the understanding, the separation, the duality, the connection, the having choices, but really ultimately coming together. With the Orion connection with Safe in particular, there's a real sort of strong connection to the shadow, to the hero's journey, to using the sword to slice and cut through illusion. Betelgeuse, again, very much linked to that. Polaris, the North Star, guiding the light, that sort of ever present light guidance, making sure that we are able to find our way, we're able to find the path that we're meant to be on, that we're able to connect with our purpose and our inner truth and really discover who we are. And Galactic Center, obviously, this homing signal, always calling to us that inner wisdom, that inner sense of home, that very cosmic, beautiful, higher frequency light, but reminding us that, this lies within all of us. And this is what we are here to reconnect with and to discover. And we do that by being embodied through this full moon. And Embodiment, the dragon energy, again, reminding us that this process is all about shadow, but standing in neutrality, so not getting so drawn into the shadow, but also not being blinded by the light, kind of bringing those two together, integrating what we may be fearful of or what we've tried to ignore before, bringing it in. So actually we realize that when we do that, when we face our fears, that our fears weren't actually so scary after all, and they are part of us, and they are really kind of making a noise. Now I'm thinking again about the pain and the discomfort in the body. If there's something that we need to pay attention to and deal with and bring in and embrace, there will be noise, there will be a distraction, and it is about sort of bringing in that shadow and facing those fears in order to experience ultimate integration. And with the dragon energy, Embodiment is the dragon's eye, so we've got this kind of all-seeing eye symbolism. We might be able to see things that we couldn't before. We have new understandings. Again, we've talked about that earlier in the video, but also the protection and the understanding, the connection to nature, the cycles of nature, the fact that everything is a process of regeneration, which comes through Betelgeuse, which comes through Razzle-Hag. There are so many different stars and archetypes and symbolisms within this chart that are just reminding us of this one truth, which takes us back ultimately to the idea, the notion of the Holy Grail. We are eternal. And the Holy Grail is actually our soul. We are the Holy Grail. This is what we're trying to connect with. And when we remember that, we release the fear that comes through death and destruction, because we understand that, this is just part of the cycle, and something new will be born out of the ashes. So yeah, I just want to say it's pretty awesome. I hope you've managed to follow me. I feel there's been a lot to share about this one, so I expect when I come back to look at it, it's going to be a slightly longer video. But thank you always for watching my content. Thank you for sharing the content. I really love to read your comments. I do try and reply to as many of them as I can. But, please do share my channel if you know anybody else that you feel will find it valuable and helpful. Obviously, the more views I get, the more YouTube sort of shows my video to other people. So it really is, it's a joint effort, I feel, and I'm really grateful for your support. If you want to find out more about my work, I am on spiralbright.co.uk. That's my website. You can sign up for my mailing list, for my newsletter. You can look at the services readings I offer. And yeah, let's see what happens at this eclipse. But we'll no doubt be back with lots more content because there's lots happening. We are in Mad March, there's plenty to say, plenty to talk about. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon.